My name is John Gentle. I'm running for Ponderay County Commissioner in District 1. Chris has been kind enough, gracious enough to loan me a few minutes of your time, so at this point you don't have any choice but to sit tight for a couple minutes. A little bit about me. I'm a Newport High School graduate. I'm a third generation United States Navy veteran. I was a gas turbine system mechanic on a guided missile cruiser. My wife and I are celebrating 25 years of marriage this year.
Woo.
We live just down, thank you. We live just down the road, up a hill, with 3 Great Danes. I have 3 children, 18, 19, and 22. None of them live in my basement.
That is success.
There's that.
Where are the Great Danes?
In my basement. They're not substitutes for the kids, in spite of what my kids might tell you. My wife and I volunteer, collectively thousands of hours in this community. Newport High School athletics program, Ponderay players. Some of you might know me, my work with Friends and Allies at Newport Silicon Smelter. And then of course the one that's near and dear to my heart is the Youth Emergency Services. My wife and I have hosted some very broken, homeless youth off and on through our home for the last 6 years. And that's where I'd like to start. I believe that every community, every society is built on the family unit. Okay, when you have a fractured family, and I'm not talking about weirdos, I think we've all got some weirdos in our family. When you have a broken family, you have an unstable foundation. You've got a broken foundation. That's where I'd like to start. I think we build up the family before we build up the community. I think one needs to come before the other. So what is my plan to do that? Well, it's simple. It's 3 things for a strong foundation, a simple message. It's safety, it's health, and it's prosperity. Okay, when I talk about safety, I'm talking about a commitment to fully fund our first responder services. Okay, I think it's critical. If I can't look you in the eye and say I'm doing everything in my power to make sure your life and your property are safe, reasonably safe, then I'm doing something wrong. Okay, but I'm not just interested in the status quo. I'd like to expand those programs. I think there's some low-hanging fruit there. I think the county has made it clear we'd like a squad car overnight in the midnight hours, right? Mm-hmm. For us to say we're not as safe as we want to be because there's not enough money, I don't really care for that. I think we've got to get that funded. That's going to be a priority of mine. It takes me to number 2. Number 2 is health. Listen, you would be forgiven if you said, John, we're in good shape on health. I feel like we get a good score for that because we do. We've got incredible mental health professionals, regular health, garden variety health professionals in this county. We've got top-notch facilities in this county. Okay, but when I say mental health, that's when you start to get on the same page. Our mental health is a mess, right? We started this year, and I apologize for taking this to a dark place. We started this year 3 suicides inside of 1 week in 2020. Okay, I've had the kids in my home. I just told you. Anybody who's worked with kids will tell you they'll always teach you something. And this is what I learned from the kids rolling through my home for the last 6 years. An ounce of prevention is truly worth a pound of cure. Okay? We have got to get ahead of this. We've got to maintain funding for our mental health services, but we've got to get ahead of it. What I'm talking about is drawing a line and saying the buck stops here. I'm talking about we have got to break the cycle of 2nd, 3rd, 4th generation handout culture. We've got to teach these kids to be self-sufficient. And I think that means claiming them when they cross that stage on graduation day. That they're going to have opportunity, that they're going to have options. Okay, they're going to have support. Listen, it's not hard to imagine the next 4 years our primary export might stop being newsprint and might start being our youth. Okay? If we can't keep our kids here, then we don't have a future. And that's going to be a priority of mine. That brings me to number 3, and this is how I tie it all up nicely with a bow. That's prosperity. Okay? Some days I feel like Trump's economy is absolutely humming. And I feel like there are towns and cities that got that memo. Okay? Post Falls is growing. Priest River is growing. Hell, Old Town got the memo. Somehow Ponderay County didn't get it. Right? Sometimes it feels like 10, 20 years from now we're stuck in neutral. And it's time we sort this out. Okay? Primarily what I see as a problem, a few things. Number 1, of course, the left side of the state votes for us, right? And let's be honest, Seattle's writing policy for the state. Washington State is positively brutal for small businesses, okay? Especially if you have payroll. That's tricky to navigate. Number two, we're a border town. Literally half of the county seat is across the state line. So we're going to be competing head-to-head with Idaho, where it's just a lot easier to have a small business. But number three, and this is something we can positively sort out, is our attitude and our placement and our foundation for business here. Okay? I think it starts with collaboration. And I'll tell you what I mean. If anybody's been reading the paper, the Miner, for the last couple of months, you saw the letter from Governor Inslee to Pac West. You saw the letter from Pac West back, and you saw the PUD jump in there. And if you didn't read those letters, I'll paraphrase. Pac West writes a letter, or Governor Inslee writes a letter to Pac West. He says, dude, what the hell? Pac West writes a letter back, says, he started it. And then the PUD jumps in there at the end and says, no, you. Right? And I make light of the situation, but what is missing from those letters? What didn't you read in those letters? There was no collaboration there. Okay, where were our leaders saying, the people of Ponderay County have spoken, we, as our top priority, A1, for a decade now, is jobs. And so I'm committed to sitting at that table and getting the deal done. And I think we've got to start there. If this ship is just a little off course or just a lot of off course, we've got to have somebody who's going to steer it in the right direction. I don't know that my opponent is going to be the best choice there. Okay? As far as if we need growth, if we need jobs, you're going to have a strong leader in there to get us back on course. I can't do it on my own. Okay? I've got some ideas. I've got some ideas from you today, and certainly collaborative effort going down the road. But I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need your vote. And I'll just finish by saying, make Ponderay County great again.
Yeah.
God bless America.
Woo!